Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon down in Nashville.
Billy Spitfire Unlimited.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're thrilled to death that you are listening to our little show.
What is this show
Going
about?
on our 300th episode, and we're so close. I'm very excited about this.
Todd, what is this show
300.
Huh? What is the show about, Todd?
It's 300.
It's coming up. This
the number of
300.
Yeah. Yes, this show is about interviewing builders, makers, shakers, and
Breakers.
partakers of the guitar world for enthusiasts.
Oh.
And tonight, in the maker category, we have a super special guest. Guess who are you?
My name is Patrick Flores. I work at Eventide Audio. I am a content producer / product specialist and manager here at Eventide.
I'm Russell Wedelich. I'm the Vice President of Development and Director of Signal Processing at Eventide.
That sounds like a very lofty title, Russ.
That's a heck of a title, man. Holy
Yeah.
smoke.
Yeah. I gave myself two titles. Really, the titles are for talking to people outside.
Yeah. Well, it's the unit that we're talking about probably deserves that kind of a title. So
I think so.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to Eventide, not just because they make a bunch of awesome, really mega cool gear, but they've got something very, very special out right now, and that is called the H90. And in a nutshell, how would you categorize this new release, guys?
I would, I drew it on a napkin 4 years ago or something like that. Maybe it was actually a piece of paper. I'd categorize it as sort of the successor of things like the H3000 and the Eclipse in pedal form.
All right, there you go. We've covered the H9 several times on the show in our 4 on the Floor. That's come up many, many times. Our good friend Jeff Schroeder has talked at length about that. And actually talked to him today. Patrick, he said to tell you he said hello. So,
Hey, brother.
yeah, so you guys can, digitally
high five, yes.
Anyhow, so we're going to have a great time learning about this new release. It is jammed. I mean, it is oozing amazing sounds. Even Tony is like, holy mac. He was sitting on the floor for a long time over here.
Many hours.
Both of us went through all 100 presets one at a time and played every single one of them. So
God bless you guys.
yes,
Yeah,
our butts hurt.
Can I have dinner
Just keep
now,
that
Todd?
in context. And thank you. We're going to move on. We need to do a few announcements real quick. Oh, wait. Where can people see what this is and where they might want to get information about this, guys?
Oh, yeah, dude. Just go to the eventideaudio.com, or you can go to our YouTube channel or Instagram, any social really, at Eventide Audio.
Awesome. And there's already loads of great YouTube footage about this and how wonderful it is. So please make sure you get out there and check it out. All right. Roll! Wow. Thanks for blowing our ears out, Tony. You do realize you do that every
know.
single time.
I know.
It never gets any funner. So, thank you.
More fun.
Thanks for
Would you
Rode
like to
for
explain what Rode is?
Well, why don't you explain what Rode is, Billy?
Well, this is some fantastic audio what do we do?
We
with
record
We
it.
talk into it.
Yes.
And it makes it
Recording
sound
You
glorious.
want me to take over?
My son
It
said
takes-
he listened to a podcast, and he's not a guitar nerd, okay?
Yeah.
And he said, Dad, even your voice sounds great on this.
Wow.
That is a compliment.
That's
So-
a miracle.
That's a
Yeah,
T-shirt
yeah.
they need to make.
Yeah.
Even Billy sounds
Yeah.
good.
So thanks to Rode for providing all of this wonderful stuff.
What do they provide us? A
We
Rodecaster
got
Pro.
Rodecaster Pro.
We got the
console,
microphones.
We got the microphones.
The
got
articulating arms.
all the things.
All the good stuff.
I also have a couple of other small announcements so we can get right into all the healthy content that we have. We could, the holiday vacation, the Christmas vacation is coming up, and I've tried to front load so that we're not too sparse in that time when we kind of take a break. But there may be like one or two. Hopefully,
Well,
not
while you're
more-
gone, I
hopefully
have a
not
couple
more than
things
one.
planned.
Okay, I'm gonna hide the keys. So forgive us, but we might need to take a little break there too. Also, we got a bunch of giveaways that are going to happen. I promise before the end of the year.
Nice.
And I just was made aware of another really, really fantastic giveaway. Maybe based on the last episodes we just released. Yes.
Wow.
So that is to come. And let's get on with this. What is going on our music world this week? Gentlemen, we're going to start with Tony Baloney, a.k.a. Reggae Tony. and then we'll
Hey,
check in with the
man.
guys at Eventide.
That's right, man. Because this week, I promise this the last
All right.
time that I talk about the China guitar, man. I got this weekend come in the mail.
All right, it's okay. We got it.
See, my number one goal is to irritate Todd to the point
Mission
where
accomplished.
yes. So, as my friend Reggae Tony was saying, I promise this year this is the last time I will talk about a Chinese guitar. Mm-hmm. I promise.
Okay.
So in the mail this week, as kind of a surprise, it was actually sooner than I expected. This is something that I've always wanted to do. Now, you know me, I like one pickup guitars with wraparound bridges. Mm-hmm. I like Les Pauls. I like Les Paul Customs. So I said, what do you think about a one pickup Les Paul Custom with a wraparound bridge? And I went over to a certain site, and lo and behold, there it was. A one pickup, wraparound bridge, black Les Paul Custom.
It's kind of like Jared, the blues guy, Jared Nichols.
Yeah, except
Yeah, same thing.
his is an Epiphone.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's basically that.
Yeah,
It's just Chinese
yeah, and better.
and looks.
But I mean, so I have to say,
Sure it is.
no, it's not a special.
Sure it is.
Okay.
It's carved
Tell
top.
us how it's different than a special.
Well, it's got 7-ply binding on the front,
Ooh.
5-ply on the back.
Ooh.
I have to say,
It's
I
beautiful.
am
Sounds beautiful.
really impressed. I'll bring it in when I have it all back together
Thank
because
you.
I've
I
got new
appreciate
parts
that.
and stuff. But it's incredible for what I paid for this thing shipped from China. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how good this one actually came out.
I think DHK is actually
Well,
operating on a barge just outside Long Beach Harbor. I'm pretty sure that's
Assembling
where they're
guitars.
actually from.
Well, this was my first delve into the AliExpress, which
Oh.
I think is somehow related to
It is,
DHgate.
yeah.
I think they're kind of one and the same.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's a really cool guitar. Of course, I had to gut it. You know, the pickup is not very good. Zach over at Brandon Wound is going to wind me up a really nice hot PAF style for that with a gold cover. I ordered some waffle back tuners, gold tuners for the
what
guitar.
color is it?
It's black.
I'm just checking.
I mean,
it's
it's
like it could have been any color.
No, it's black, like a Les Paul Custom should be.
Okay.
Well, I guess there's others.
Yeah, there are
There are other colors.
Yeah, that looks beautiful, dude.
So anyhow, I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to get when my parts should be here this week. I'm going to put it all back together, level out the frets, and call it a day.
That's cool. Dig it. Let's see. Let's go to. Let's start with Russ. Russ, what's going on in your music world?
Sure. I got a brand new. Well, it's funny. I've played the same bass for like 15 years, and then in the past month, I have 2 new basses. I've always been a one axe guy. I'm a bass player. Sorry, guitar player.
That's all good.
Yeah. But we got this Ernie Ball Dark Ray here. We did a trade for it, so it's technically Eventide's, but since I'm one of the resident bass players, I've had it for a little while, and it's really fun to play. I've been kind of vibing on it. It's the 5-string. I like 5 strings.
Cool.
Yeah.
what kind of music are you like focused on?
Me, let's see. I rejoined my band during the pandemic, and we made 2 albums. It was a guy I used to play with in college, and then So we're all from Texas. So we're kind of like an alt kind of country rockish kind of band.
Oh yeah,
I guess you could say. It really sounds like bar music, you know.
So you down with John Doe?
No, I don't know that. Oh. My other problem is I'm like a dad now, and I do a lot of Eventide work. So you're probably going to list a bunch of people I don't know. So
No,
I'll take notes.
I honestly won't. John Doe is a bass player from X, out in L.A. and he's kind of always been like a cowboy punk at heart, and his side project away from X is like standing on the front porch making awesome music with tumbleweeds going by. I mean, dude, you will love it. Based on what you just said, John Doe. Yep.
Yeah. No, we got a good steel player. It was during the pandemic. You could hire all these legit musicians to play on your like fun project albums, and we hired the steel player that used to play with the Cardinals, John Graboff, and it was and a good professional drummer. It was really fun. I didn't use obviously I didn't have this bass yet. I used my Sadowski, but it's a J bass, but I've never owned an Ernie ball, and this has been fun. It's a whole different sound. It sounds different when you slap it. I play at a gospel service at a church in Manhattan.
Awesome.
So they let me slap there, and
Yeah.
yeah. You don't normally get to do that at church, but
I was gonna say
You must be the most popular guy there.
It's more than one way to heaven.
Work.
Yeah.
Repent.
that's kind of the main reason I go there is because they let me like slap the bass, and obviously I can't do that in my country band. They kick me out.
Right.
So is that one? Is it like a traditional Ernie Ball style body, or is it one of their more inventive ones?
It's pretty traditional. It's got the single, one pickup, but it's a dark ray, so it's got built-in instead of the mid-range boost kind of stuff they have.
Mm-hmm.
They have these dark glass distortion circuits. So I don't really have a band to play this in, but I got to find a good rock band locally and then show up with, and it lights up. It's got LEDs in it. It's a loud bass.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I kind of want to just like go use it in a rock band, go all out and say, yeah, I got a bass guitar with LEDs in it that lights up. Deal with it. Deal with it.
Distortion too.
For sure.
Wow.
The distortions sound good. I like them. There's an overdrive and kind of something that's more of a mid-range fuzz. So it's
Nice.
I'll have to
been
check
fun to
that
play
one
with.
out.
Yeah.
Let's see, Patrick. How about yourself?
I've been doing a lot of music lately. I've been writing a lot of R&B tunes for a group that I play in called K Mars, and then my band Bad Mothers. We're a grunge band. We call ourselves disco grunge because it's more kind of like dancey grunge music.
Very accurate.
Yeah. We've just been writing. So we're signed to a label called Black Country Rock with Shooter Jennings, and we're just working on the new record now and kind of trying to get some more music out there. Playing some new guitars too. D'Angelico sent us the Deluxe Brighton, so I've been playing that so much. It's so smooth.
Is that one of their hollows or solids?
No, it's their double cut solid body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have the same crazy headstock with the metal ferrule on the top?
Oh yeah, I don't know if they make any guitars without that, honestly, but I love it, dude. Everybody keeps asking me if it's like a truss rod adjustment thing, but it's just flashy.
That would be a cool place to put a truss rod adjustment.
Right? You think it's purposeful, but it's just flashy.
Nice.
I dig it. Let's see, Billy.
There's so much going on, but one thing that was really exciting was that I recently purchased an old 1974 Dallas Arbiter Vox AC30, and and it had something going on, and I took it to the shop and I just got it back, but they had to swap out one of the tubes had gone microphonic. And now, man, that thing, it's just, it's amazing.
Are you going to be a Vox guy now?
Well, I can't carry it. Yeah. So I'm going to be a Vox guy when I'm sitting at home in my living room.
Yeah. I don't know if you could put four wheels and a steering wheel and a V8 on it. You'd be able to
But now I know
around.
what sound I have to aspire to, But,
Nice.
I mean, you have the classic crunchy sound, right? Like the
chimey crunch.
yeah, like the Beatles and like AC/DC, you can get all that kind of stuff. But it also has an amazing crystal clear sound. You can. I was really surprised once this tube got straightened out. I was like, oh my God, this thing is like heavenly.
Nice.
So anyway, I'm just playing with that.
Right on. Fantastic. Dude.
Living large.
Yeah, and you got tons of stuff going on that we could do a whole show. What's on your agenda? Jared, how about yourself?
So back in Thanksgiving, I got back up north, went to Lay's in Akron, saw a couple of projects I have there. And it's the first time I've seen my 1800s Martin that I bought sight unseen. So, and this guitar is super duper duper old. It's when Martin was in New York, and the thing is as loud as could be. It needs new bracing and it needs a lot of work. But I just said, I asked him. I said, what can we do to preserve the way it looks now? And he said, refinishing will help me hide a lot of what I have to do to it. And I said, yeah, I don't care. Just do what you would do to your own guitar. But I just can't wait to get my hands on this. You got to buy gut strings for it. You can't put regular steel strings on that model. Because it's so old. And then I have a 74 or 3, I don't remember what year it is, SG Custom, and I saw they'd repaired the headstock veneer on that. It looked great. It's going to be cherry, going to go with white pickguard. Probably have that sent to Tony Balonski to have him do his thing on it.
Back to the Martin. Do they still make gut strings?
Yeah, you can still buy them. Yeah.
Who makes them?
You can buy Martin.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Does it have a truss rod?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
They didn't really. No.
That's pretty new. I mean, that'd be hard to manufacture back then.
So I don't.
A lot of the old.
They still don't.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jared.
Oh no, you were going to talk about the truss rods. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even up through the '60s, I think they just had a T-bar in them.
Yeah.
And that was, basically a non-adjustable support piece inside.
Early 80s, I want to say they went to truss rod.
I think so. I think just because the demand was there, people, say, oh, all these other guitars have truss rods in them. And
Martin probably got sick and tired of resetting necks.
Well, yeah, that was.
They still do it for a good price, though.
Yeah.
Wow. But the strings, the gut strings, no, I think they don't make them like they used to. I think even back in the late 80s, you could get real gut strings, but I think it's used from animals. The gut part, I don't know. Really.
They just don't make.
I don't want to know.
They don't make guts like they used to. So.
It's right.
No guts, no glory.
That's correct. Right. So now it's synthetic.
I have a sensitive gut.
Be
careful what you say.
Is the body style on that? Is that like
kind of like parlor?
Parlor. Yeah, I was gonna say. Is that like kind of like a V neck, like a soft V?
Yeah, a lot of them were.
Yeah,
a lot of them were. A lot of the guitars were back then.
They feel good.
It sounded amazing. I mean, it was in terrible shape. It is in terrible shape, but it sounds crazy good. I have no idea when they're actually going to work on it, but I guess it'll be a surprise when it's done.
That'll be quite nice.
Then, and then the same trip, I picked up what's called a push tone. Gibson made these Les Pauls in 2008. It was a guitar of the month, and they designed a system where you can just push on the pickup and there's it goes on a mount that comes out of the back of the guitar. And the idea is to have, a dozen of these mounts with different pickups, and you can change them quite quickly without having to change the strings. So I picked one of those up since I'm, at Gibson developing pickups. It's nice to have something at home where I can work at home and have my own. Of course, I probably could have took something home, but I just don't want to ask them to build me one right now. But I might ask them to build me a P90 version of that. But it's a really great tool. You could just quickly swap pickups so you get a better perception of when you're A-B'ing a pickup. So that's fun. And that about wraps it up, and looking
Nice.
forward to hearing what Todd's going to say.
Oh, Todd has
I know what
something
Todd's
big. He's
gonna
going to
say.
talk and talk and talk.
I'm not going to talk and talk
Go
about because
ahead.
this is the Eventide show.
Okay.
But,
What's going on in your music world this week? Or what happened in your music world this week, Todd?
I would say probably the high point of my musical career.
Oh,
Yeah, we were asked to, my band, the Valentinos, was asked to open up for Starcrawler for 2 dates in
nice.
Cincy and to close out their tour in our hometown of Columbus. And it was such a thrill. It was such it was like,
I was so proud of you, Todd.
thanks, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
you guys
that.
worked really hard, and it showed.
Thank
know?
you.
You had
It-
the look, you had the moves, you had the sound, you had.
It's like this.
Oh,
Oh,
that was a
man.
different guitar player.
Yeah. I mean, we
went to business.
We
You
really
just-
we kind of all huddled right before we went up,
Nice.
and backstage with them, and we're like, this might be the thing. This is just don't let anything not come out on stage. Just go for it, do it, and it's funny because where we ended up playing was a place called the A&R Bar. When I started the band, we had our first show at another bar, and we instantly were like, okay, if we could play anywhere, like, where would it be? And all of us kind of said the A&R Bar,
Yeah.
which is a place that in town that basically is where acts, they put acts that are about to go, like, pretty big. So Starcrawler definitely qualifies for that. And it was so surreal because this is a place that I've gone to go. I've paid. I've waited at the door. I've gone in and I've sat there waiting for the lights to go down and watch the show and go home and talk about the show with everybody. And I was like, but this is ours. This is like, we're the ones who are up there. And it was such a
Be
thrill.
in the green room.
It was such a thrill. And I need to do a huge thank you to Starcrawler. They were genuinely, really super friendly, very kind and gracious people, which makes it so much cooler. And Henry Cash is a beast on guitar. That guy, like, it is really something to watch him go. And it's not the Henry Cash like guitar show. All of them working in sync is what makes it so special, but he's definitely got something special. And then they also have Bill Cash, who's on slide,
Yeah.
and
Steel
and rhythm.
Yeah,
so
he is
he's
so
going jumping up and down between slide and rhythm guitar. I mean the whole, it was they're so good. But anyways, the cool thing is, maybe even cooler than that was, I said, hey, you're a guitar nut. I know that. He's a gear hound. Would you come on the show?
Plays at Dan Electro.
And Gretches. Yeah, those are all Gretches, custom Gretches.
Really?
Anyways,
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
sure. And he said, oh, man, I'd love to. So we're going to get Henry on the show.
Nice.
And I'm hoping Bill, too. And we'll have lots and lots to talk about.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Dude, the Starcrawler's music video, I remember just digging him so much. And I remember watching their video for I Love LA, and I'm like, this is just the coolest video ever, man.
It's great.
Arrow, I got to meet Arrow afterward. And
Yeah.
I said, hi, I'm Billy. And she goes, hello, Billy. My name is Arrow.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I melted. I was
She's like
"Ah."
ethereal.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
cool.
You know,
That's so
it was kind of neat because they've got a love song to LA, and one of the first things that we started talking about with them was there are a lot of parallels in our
Because Todd's
music,
from LA.
or some similarities in playing styles and just sort of music styles, which is why we were probably asked to do that. But we also, like, one of the first songs that we created was called "Bring Me the Night," and it was about being down in LA when, like, kind of before you could kind of be part of LA, like pre-18, like when you're just cruising the strip and you're just like, man, I'm so close, I'm right there, and you can feel the energy, but you're not right there yet, but you're still in love with the idea of it, and that was what our song was about. So we each had odes to LA, and it was great. Anyways.
Hey, most importantly, did you ask them to remove all of the brown M&Ms from the tray?
It's in the rider.
Yeah, mine's all brown.
Only brown M&Ms.
Anyways, let's get on with some awesome more guitar gear. Some more awesome guitar gear. I can't even talk. I'm still numb after that show. All right, let's do this, man.
Hey, Todd.
Yes?
You know, during the big gig, I suppose you had your pedal board out
I
there,
did.
right? And I see you have a pedal board in here that we were monkeying around with
the
a little
same
bit.
one.
I noticed that you have a very specific kind of patch cable.
I do, and at variable lengths.
Variable lengths. What would those be?
That is the Tour Gear Designs patch cable.
Ooh.
I have those on my board that I gig with because I trust that they're going to work, and they fit all the different configurations of the pedals that I have.
And they're flat, like
They're
a crepe.
flat, they're flexible, they're easy to use, and they are super affordable.
Really?
And you can
Crepes
get them mailed to you with a discount. That's
What is
right.
that discount?
When you go and load up your cart,
Load it up.
you're going to get 10% off your entire order with the guitar knobs in your coupon code.
The guitar knobs.
10%.
10%.
And, you know, we always say we don't rep anything that we don't absolutely say, yes, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
And every single one of us on this show, on the guitar knob side at least, are using those patch cables and love them. So go check out tourgeardesigns.com and get yourself some super duper patch cables. Thank you to Tour Gear for sponsoring our 4 on the Floor. Jared?
Let me get a little bit of this.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. All right. Russ and Pat from Eventide. Give us your 4 on the floor.
All right, so my 4 on the floor, I got the way I use like my pedal board live, it's like sort of like a space machine, right? Or a space machine. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I would probably start with the most versatile. I would do the Hotone Soul Press 2.
Oh.
Yeah, it's this really rad, super small expression slash volume slash wah pedal. So
Yeah.
you just kind of click it on and off.
I almost bought one of those at one point. Not that I didn't, because I just realized I didn't need it, but that's the one I was going to get, actually.
I only bought it really for the sake of like managing space on my pedal board, but it is actually really rad. So I have like 2 or 3 of them now just for different boards. So that would be my first pick just because it's...
And yours
I
is
think,
a
my
bass
essential.
board, right?
No, Russ is the bass board. I'm a guitar board.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah. And then my second one would be one of my favorite pedals, although it's a huge pedal. I really like the Electron Analog Drive. I don't know if you guys have checked that out. It's like this really, really big multi-distortion pedal.
Electron Analog Drive. All right. We're all looking that up. See, this is the fun part. Every single time we do this, we're like, what's that?
Yeah, Electron's known more for their synths, their tabletop synths and sequencers.
Yeah, dude, but their distortion pedal. So I'm really obsessed with getting the most out of my board as possible. And I have multiple drives on my board, but at one point I was just using the Electron Analog Drive guitar pedal because it had, I think, like 9 distortion circuits on it. And they all sound great. And it was MIDI like capable. So I was switching it with my Boss ES5, just switching like my Eventide stuff and my distortions. I don't love tap dancing like on my pedal board. I just need to like hit one switch and then it, kind of messes around with like my pedal board the way I want it to. So that one really works for my particular setup.
Yeah. It's like a salad bar for overdrive.
Oh yeah. It's like and then I would go probably for my third one. I didn't think this was going to be an essential one for me until I started using these types of pedals, but just a compressor pedal, particularly. There's one really affordable one that I love called, what is it called? The Outlaw FX Wrangler. It's a tiny compressor pedal, but any compressor pedal with a tone knob, and just something that you can just squash it. So if I'm playing more funk or R&B stuff, like, I could go finger style, and it sounds percussive, and it won't suck the tone out of my guitar. That'd be my number 3. And then I'm trying to think. The 4 on the floor. Am I going to have an amp with me, or do I need an amp pedal? You know what I mean?
Yes, you will have an amp with you.
Okay, so my 4th one is going to be the J Rocket. What's it called? Like the Silver Archer.
Oh yeah,
I forgot what they called it.
Yeah,
but that one's just a great clean boost / mild overdrive pedal.
Oh yeah, is it a clone?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of the right. It's one that's recognized in maybe 3 that are sort of. It's sort of like if you think about the tree at the star at the top of the tree of the Klon Christmas tree is the Klon, and followed by the KTR, and then you have like 2 or 3 that are sort of at the next tippy top level that the little kids can't reach, and then then you filter down.
Yeah, I'm not I don't know if I'd ever spend that kind of amount of money on a guitar pedal. I don't know how much a legit.
It's worth it.
Is it? Okay.
No, it's not.
Santa, why did you take my Klon off the Christmas tree?
Oh, it's broken. I'm just
If
going
you don't
to
need
fix
a
it.
car or a
You
house,
can't
it's
afford
worth
it, little girl.
Yes,
Go back to bed.
yes.
It's worth it.
I gotta get a King of Tone one day, but for now, the Archer it serves me well because I don't even really use it as a standalone thing. I use it to push my drive, and that's kind of what it's best for me. So that would be my 4. I think that covers my nice little pedal board.
You know what works really well into the Klon type pedal is because that's like a hard clipping one. It is any kind of a soft one. So a combo that I was actually using for a bit was let's see, I had the Morning Glory going into my Seriatone clone, which is an Indonesian pedal, and it just it's just the push that because if you goose the actual clone level and or the gain, it's like it's a whole other different thing, and the gain stages in that with just a little bump from sort of a lower gain setting on the Morning Glory or other kind of blues breaker kind of pedal, it's pretty delicious. So,
do you use it before or after the Blues Breaker? Yeah.
No. The Blues Breaker circuit before the Klon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. I always put the Klon pretty much like.
Billy's nodding emphatically.
Yeah, I gotta try that out, dude, because I really only used like the Archer pre any distortion. It's like the first on my chain to push like whatever's in front of it.
Yeah. I think what it does, it maybe isn't even necessarily as much of a push as it is a little bit more of a bloom on it, for lack of better terms. It kind of helps soften it because if you're pushing the Klon really hard, it can sound a little bit harsh, and it kind of rounds out the drive sound. At least that's what my ears are.
You're bumping the voltage,
picking it up. So
I think I have a friend who told me to, for that purpose, try out the Exotic EP booster, just like after my whole pedal board to kind of do the same kind of purpose.
Yeah, that'll do it. Well, cool, man. Yeah, Klon, what?
I was gonna say the Klon's kind of a weird circuit. I remember looking at it. It I don't want to call it a crossover network, but it does like a small version of that. It actually has 2 paths and recombines the signals, and the main distortion path I think is on the high end. They actually like split the signal and do a lot of the heavy clipping on the higher end, and then put the low back in. It's interesting when you look at it.
Yeah.
So that kind of describes what you're hearing.
Yeah. We're going to Russ now.
Yeah, 4 on the floor.
Perfect. Let's do it.
I'm a bass player. It's not really it's not wise for us to show up to gigs with a lot of pedals. People question your intent.
So true.
They question your intent.
I get
like
that crap all the time. Yeah.
So I would say that number one, I've had this Voodoo Lab Sparkle Drive for a while. And honestly, the main reason I have it is it's got a clean blend knob. To me, I'll use any distortion that's halfway decent as long as it has like a mix control or a clean blend, because they tend to kill your low end and you can't play bass line. But it's nice to be able to blend the clean. Or you could do something even more complicated. But this is so simple, it sounds good. It's kind of like a tube screamer with a clean blend almost.
Is that the mod one or the old school?
I think it's old school. I don't think there's anything modded on it.
Okay.
I never modded it.
Yeah, they have one called the mod.
Oh, I know which one. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Knobs.
No, he's like that's
Two
the
more
same one
knobs,
that I've
right?
got. Is that?
Yeah, this is the old
Sparkle
school
Drive.
one. Yeah.
The original.
Yeah.
OG.
It works really well for bass, and like I said, it's really all about that clean blend. I've had this, and I use it a lot. This Dunlop bass wah. It's a heavy sucker, which it's not great, but then again, it's lasted forever. And bass wahs, unlike regular wahs, just turn on when you step on them. There's not like a button you have to press, because basically you want to know that you can step off and not piss anyone off and go back to playing the bass line and not be like parked somewhere weird.
Yeah.
All right. So, and it springs back up. It's got a built-in spring. And I have to say, I've had this thing for like 15 years and it is not broken.
That's awesome.
Which one is this?
Stuff.
Yeah.
Which one is this?
It's the Dunlop Crybaby bass.
Oh.
That's a spring that like auto activates the wah.
It pushes the wah back up, and when the wah is down, it turns off and it automatically just goes dry.
That's awesome.
So it only turns into a wah when you push it down a tiny bit more, so it turns on and off.
That's so sick.
Why wouldn't they do that to all of them? That sounds like
I know, right?
They have another one like that I had when I was in high school called the Ibanez Weeping Demon.
Yeah.
Wah, which is the same concept. It's a spring-loaded thing, so it springs back and then automatically deactivates the wah as soon as it reaches the heel point.
Yep.
And then just automatically activates as soon as you start touching. It's really cool.
That pedal is so over the top in every single kind of like way. It just needs like some bedazzled jean pockets on it.
Oh, I had chains on my jeans in high school, man. I was playing that.
There you go.
So yeah, this Crybaby bass. I mean, the general rule is when in doubt, step on it. So I usually it's funny. I don't. It's a wah, and you think that I'd use it for a bunch of funk stuff, but I find that after the distortion, if you get you can like really long sweeps, almost like you're like simulating a flanger or something.
Oh, yeah.
But with a filter, if you kind of do that, especially if I'm like playing with a pick or like doing some like kind of low D double stop things and just slowly sweeping the filter, it's a nice effect, and you get a lot of sound out of the distortion pedal in that.
Yeah. Well, originally when they were developing this, I believe they were going to be either calling it the Filger or the Flanter, and they said, "Wait a minute, why don't we actually just?" I don't know, it's stupid. I had Billy going for a little bit. Anyways,
I turned away. I just I was like, okay.
okay, all right.
It was originally developed
to you,
for
Russ.
a trumpet player,
oh
Clyde McCoy.
the wah pedal.
The wah pedal itself was originally designed to simulate the sound of a mute
Yeah.
in a
Oh,
trumpet.
that's right, because they used like the kind of like
a
plunger
plunger,
mute
yeah.
thing
Yeah.
to get like a wah sound. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a
Yeah. Yeah, and then Charlie Brown got a hold of it. So, all right.
I played tuba in college. That was like my major instrument, and we tried to do for like a jazz project, like a sort of like a tuba plunger wah thing. It didn't work, man. It didn't work.
That's a mighty large plunger.
It took two people to operate it, so it was just like,
Frequency's way too low.
Wow.
Womp, womp, womp.
Russ, I want to mention my middle daughter is actually a hardcore tuba sousaphone player and is a bassist.
they go. I mean, it's the same range, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I would go with well, I can't mention anything from Eventide. So, but anything that gives me an octave down. So I really like just the classic Boss OC1 because it's not the cleanest octave down, but it kind of ends up being synthy, especially when you combine it with this wah, because it's really just a couple of analog flip flops in the circuit. Any of that OC line, I think what are they up to now? I can't even remember because now they're all polyphonic and stuff. But I use an octave down a lot on a bass. And you think, why would you do that on a bass? But it's like, it's not it's so I can play up higher on the neck and take up a lot of space, like when I need to, and you get a really rich sound especially when you're up above the 12th fret.
It's not just a lower. Okay, I don't want to get.
It's all the harmonics that add up. That just
like
up
the high
sound.
strings on a bass sound amazing. I think.
Yes.
So I'm with you. I'm with you, Russ.
Yeah, it's the octave down, and I use the octave down because you add, like, if you just want to take it up a notch live, maybe it wouldn't work recorded. But like if you're in a situation where you have a nice bass amp and a big sound system, and you want there to be another level, you just throw on one of these OC1s an octave down, and all of a sudden it's just like power. It just
it
really
should be called the OC11.
OC11, that's right. And for my fourth one, I don't think I should have 4 pedals. I'm just going to go with the 5th string on the bass. I'm going to go with the low B string.
That's fair. That's fair.
I like it.
Bassist gets a bye. I get it.
Very.
Wow. So no. Okay. All right. No limiter? You do a limiter or anything like that?
Compressor or anything?
Yeah, compressor.
No, I'm just really good with my fingers. I don't need any of that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Keep it PG-13. Keep it PG-13.
Yeah.
No, sometimes those are in the amps and stuff, but limiters are usually
or in
built
other things.
Yeah, I tend not to use a lot of compression, at least not live. I mean, because I usually play active basses, right? So
Okay.
Yeah.
they're pretty high.
Cool.
The Sadowski is an active jazz bass. It's pretty live.
Cool.
You can almost run it directly into some power amps. It's that big of a voltage swing.
Right. I'd like to hear what Bootsy Collins has to say about that. Bootsy?
Well, he's got like 5. How many outputs on the space bass are there? There's like every pickup has its own output or something. It's kind of wild.
Okay. Well, that was a ton of fun, and I love it when we get new pedals.
Oh, yeah.
It's a blast. It's like Christmas every single time we do this. Just not our Christmas. It's somebody else's Christmas. Anyways, so, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are gathered here today because, number one, first of all, I need to give a huge shout out to you all at Eventide. You guys were so nice about coming on the show and hooking us up with a unit to give it a shot, and I just really appreciate that. I'm grateful, so thank you.
Of course, dude. Anytime. Thank you for having us at the show.
And speaking of the unit that we talked about, this is the H90, an absolute wonder of sound. I know, like, the Eventide products, that is what you guys are known for. So this isn't like, oh my gosh, this is, where did all these amazing sound? We've never heard anything like. These are things that are all like coming from experience that you have in this thus far, but maybe in a form factor that might be more accessible and familiar to a bigger audience. Fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, I'm not going to talk about this because this is your pedal. But so if you guys just want to kind of take it away, and the two guys that we have on here, Pat and Russ, are coming at it from a development standpoint and from a player standpoint and probably a few other standpoints. So, guys, I give you the floor.
Yeah, man. I mean, at least from a player standpoint, it to me, like the H90, it is really kind of an inspiration machine, right? It can pretty much do anything. The coolest thing about this pedal is, like, if I'm demoing it at a trade show or to an artist or whomever, it's really fun to kind of go over the effects because it's kind of like a la carte. It's like, hey, what do you want to hear? And then they kind of just describe the sound they want to hear, and you could dial it in real easily. And then again, if you're just a new player to Eventide, you can scroll through all the different presets and just kind of feel inspired by those, sounds. I don't know a lot of other pedals that do that, where you can kind of get these really sweet studio quality sounds in just one box, like all these different tones. So yeah, to me, it's like an inspiration machine.
Yeah. When we got a hold of this, and I have honestly not played an Eventide product before this. I've seen them. I've heard them. I've talked to people who are running them. When I think about the H9, I look at it, I'm like, it didn't seem as accessible as this.
Yeah, I'm smiling when you say this.
Hopefully because this one is more accessible.
For sure.
Yeah.
Good.
It was. I mean, it was one of the big goals is to make it more accessible, make it more immediate to use.
That's a great word, immediate. Yes.
Yeah.
I think the second biggest thing, and Tony, I'm sure, is going to chime in on this real quick, is the way that I was trying to describe it to Tony is like, so tell me about the pedal before he got a hold of it. And I said, there are lots of things where you can dial in, I want this pedal or sound or effect and this pedal effect, and I want them, and I'm going to make a melange of these things. And they're going to run into each other, and I'm going to have this big sound. But they kind of, a lot of times they feel like I'm going to take half of an orange and half of an apple and slap it together. Yes, it's going to be interesting, and yes, it's still fruit, but they're not necessarily. I think I said this using the same blood. That's what I was saying.
That's what you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I get one pedal and one pedal, I can make it work on my pedal board, but they're not using the same blood. And the beautiful thing about the sounds that come out of this is that it absolutely feels like one body of sound, no matter what you put together. And that is the thing that made me say, wow, when I actually heard this, like playing it myself. Now I got it. I was like, okay, I get it.
So I think it should not be called the Harmonizer. I think it should be called the Smile Machine, because on at least half of the settings that are pre-programmed in there, I'd play something and it made me smile.
That's true.
So yes, so there you go. So that's a big thumbs up from me.
Will you sign a waiver letting us have the trademark on Smile?
I will do, as long as I get 5 units.
Yeah.
It's all yours, baby.
All right. Fair deal. Yep.
Yeah. I've never seen Tony sit for more than 30 seconds on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like that, like a rigatoni preset, man. Yeah, I dialed in like a lot of these presets here, and rigatoni was one of them.
Yeah. That was a fun one.
It was fun
the
going
names
through
are
that.
cool.
You got like Teacher Preacher, I think.
Yeah, hot for teachers style sound.
Yeah, I was like, wait, and I started to go like, I'm gonna guess if I know what this is before I play it. After I kind of got the vibe and a little bit of wit going on back there, and then there's the Bob Mayer.
Bob Mayer, yeah.
That was great, and I was like, wait, I know what this is gonna be.
Some of them I got super lazy on, and I'm just like, this is John Mayer. Like most of these presets, I had a gig, and I had this like kind of like cover tunes that I got to learn, and I'm just trying to dial these sounds in. So I'm like, it's a John Mayer preset. I don't know what rhymes with John Mayer. Bob Mayer?
Yeah. Well, my grandpa's name was John, but everybody called him Bob. That's the only way that I got there.
Is a short
being bullied
for John.
I don't know. That's how I got there.
What kind of family did you come from?
Don't hate on my family.
His Appalachian roots.
Yeah. That's the only way honest. Anyways, so there's Bob Mayer.
I like 70s old vinyl. 70s old vinyl.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Sounded like an old Led Zeppelin vinyl. It's like,
Yeah.
A little warped.
kind of like it's in there.
It's
like,
dirty. It's got warmth. One of the great things, we talked about approachable, this being a really approachable pedal from a maker that makes things for like kind of higher end, use really. so me walking up to this, I was like, okay, I hope I'm smart enough to play this thing. You know what I mean? And just going through all of the easily accessible presets, Tony made a comment. He says, you really have to change the way you're playing with these presets. And I said, that was the beautiful thing, because I wasn't trying to force what I want to play into these. These were letting me almost giving me permission to play different things, which I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, the point that I was making is if you try to play maybe too many notes, especially on the ones that are heavily wrapped in delay, you start walking all over yourself. So you can just play very basic kinds of things, and you come off sounding like the Edge or something, some great player.
So big question is, guys, who is this for?
It's for you.
It's for you guys. It's for, it's kind of weird. It's a mix of, we made the H9 and we got a lot of feedback on it, and it's a popular pedal. And a lot of this pedal was sort of based on what people wanted to see out of the H9, So we actually throw in our own special sauce every time, right? As well. Because we had some of it's for us, frankly. Yeah. Because as a developer and as I guess the boss of this project, we had this ARM platform, right? These are the processors in the H9000. And it's basically a computer. I don't want to yell that too loud because I don't want to, create any bias against it or anything. But it's basically a computer, but it's got a
magic computer.
It's a smile computer.
A smile computer, yes. It's got a lot of processing power, and one of my other passions in life is just like math and signal processing. And I just man, if I could get this in a pedal, imagine all the things we could do. And all the guys who do signal processing on the team are like, oh yeah. So honestly, a lot of it was for us. But obviously you can't make a business on just doing things for yourself. So that's why we have guys like Patrick.
I don't know. I might actually disagree with that because, well, I'll tell you, almost every single builder that we have come on the show, I mean, with the exception of very few, have outright said, I did this because I wanted something that I couldn't get, or I wanted it to be different, or I just wanted it my own. Yeah. And the funny thing is, for every one person that does that, there's a mess of us out there that also want that thing that we don't even know that we want.
Yeah, right. For sure. I mean, you can walk into any trade show and you'll see, a bunch of awesome pedals, right? But a lot of those, I think, personally, from experience of going to NAMM, a lot of those are going to be iterations of other things. They're awesome, but they're iterations. I think this pedal, the coolest thing about it is that the most interesting things to me personally, and I think I can speak to other people at Eventide too, are sounds that are totally out there, man. Like crazy sounds that you wouldn't think you can come out of your guitar, but still sound really pleasing and musical. Musical is the big key word. And I love those kinds of pedals. Like Chase Bliss does a lot of those kinds of pedals. The Mood, Maris does a lot of those kinds of pedals. And I think this pedal is like an amalgamation of, that sort of drive of, that drive to create those different sounds, to create something creative and just interesting different sounds that you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah, then I'll stick with it. We did it. It's funny. You work at Eventide, and there's been several eras of Eventide. It's a really old company. It's from 1971. Because they made the original rack processors, old units, the original flangers and phasers before anyone else had them. I think one of the big things that predated the phaser Eventide made is the Univibe, right? But we had a phaser in the early 70s, the instant phaser, and these are really expensive studio units that the current owners, Richard and then Tony, developed. Tony made the H910, which is the first digital pitch shifter. in the late 70s. He made the first multi-effects box with plug-in chips called the SP 2016 in the early 80s.
Wow.
So there's a massive pedigree. The guys who own Sound Toys, I don't know if you guys know much about plugins. They're the developers of the H3000, which is a really big studio box. And all these things like have been on so many records. Like Eddie Van Halen used two H949s. I know Brian May used an Omnipressor. Tons of people use the Instant Phaser, Instant Flanger. So you just have decades of like shoulders of giants to stand on when you're looking at all these old schematics and reading a bunch of old code. So in some ways, it's like I do it for me, but I also do it for like the legacy because I feel like a steward of this ancient art or something. It's really like 50 years old, but in rock and roll terms, it feels kind of ancient. So, and you can see the source of all this, and it's just a bunch of guys in an old manky building that smells like an old school, like designing gear. Doesn't it? That's what my kids always tell me when I come home. You went to Eventide, you smell like an old school.
It's wild because honestly, I think the impression is that you guys are operating in like one of like a spaceship, like the Apple Loop or something like that. You know.
Oh, I've been there where it's nothing like that.
No, we're a small company.
We're much nicer than those people. We don't,
I can vouch for that so far.
Yeah.
But you know that is one of the things that is a common myth that we get to bust here. When we talked with the guys from Strymon, when you look at the products, you're like, what army of people created these things with this special troop of geniuses, and they're like, we're only like 7 people.
Yeah, there's not that many.
And actually we just talked to Black Star. That's what the 2 previous episodes, and this is the same thing. I think they said there was like 14 of them or something like that. I mean, it's like it's not a huge group of people. It is just people who are dedicated to excellence in their craft and are willing to put in the time and not just ride whatever kind of trend or insta gratification that's needed in order to achieve that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you guys are putting in all of that time and thought because you've created something that is truly remarkable sounding. I'm glad that you mentioned all the studio stuff because, Tony, what did I say? I said that. Do you remember what I said? Tony, what'd I say? You remember what I said, Tony?
The studio stuff?
I said that these sounds don't sound like a pedal board.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Because
you did say that.
Those are isolated things that you are trying to combine, but the thought about decay and trails and time and depth and space and all of the dimensions beyond what does the thing do is already baked in there. Now you have
that's
the
just
power
talking
to
about,
manipulate them.
And you're just talking about the presets.
I'm just talking about the presets. You have full manipulation of everything on here, which is remarkable.
Yeah, it goes. It can go. The challenge with the H9 is, in a lot of Eventide products, is they can go as deep as you want them, and some of them, you kind of, if you lead with that, it's like what you said. I never wanted to be like, oh, Eventide, you're not smart enough. Like that's not the goal. I don't want to make people feel
that's
bad.
That's a T-shirt that you should never make. Actually, just wear at the shop. That's it.
Yeah, I love it.
But I think a good product should sort of progressively disclose and take you on a journey, right from the beginning to the end. Whatever level you stop at, it should always be fun.
Yeah.
So, right, like it's like, so if you just want to use this with the factory presets, like you could have fun for a long time because there's more than just 100 there. There's more in the box, right, than that in the programs mode.
Mm-hmm.
And aren't you able to access other people's settings, presets, and stuff?
That is coming soon, actually.
Okay.
We want to do that. Nothing's precluding you from exporting the programs and emailing and sharing them with people. You could totally do that now, but we'd like to do something a little more official for that.
Yeah.
So we're looking into that. So yeah, we want to like kind of build a community with it too, you know?
Yeah. I just, it's funny, you know, I was mentioning Jeff earlier, and like when I'm listening to his work on Smashing Pumpkins now, he's not just, it's not just a guy playing rad guitar. Like he's creating a whole other layer of sound, and you know, he sings such high praises of Eventide's products, and especially the H9. When I showed him, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I love that thing. It's it's incredible." And when I started playing, I was like, "Oh, I can totally hear how he's pulling from this into those layers, because it sounds like someone spent days in a studio to try to nail that down and create this thing that doesn't necessarily sound just like the effect that you might think it is." Oh, totally. And you guys did that. You actually did spend days and days and days sorting that out. So,
I mean, more than days.
Yes, months, years,
yeah, a long time. Yeah, I mean, the whole project took 4 years, and a lot of that was because it's a hardware project, and we had to figure out how to do it as a remote company during COVID and then all the supply chain issues. The stories are like both harrowing, wild, and boring at the same time.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's pull on that a little bit, because, you know, I kind of mentioned this earlier, where it's like that you dedicated the time and effort to develop something like this. This doesn't happen overnight. You're not just saying, "Hey, I got a great idea. Let's pop this thing out." So 4 years ago, you made a decision to create the evolution of like the H9, or were you chasing something different that nobody else had been thinking of? Where did this begin?
It's like it was the evolution of the H9. It was it to me, it felt obvious. Like, oh well, we have this successful product. People want it to do all these other things. This is what it's lacking. This is what it needs. We had a new processing platform in the H9000, and I knew that I wanted to make it more accessible and, you know, immediate to use than the H9, which relies more on the app. So just started drawing pictures of what the interface could look like and defining what the features would be, and then started, you know, running it by the ideas by guys like Patrick, our head of sales, for the Americas, Joe Coetzee, all the engineers on the team. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like I knew what I wanted it to be, and then I just needed to get buy-in from everyone on the team. Because there's really no point in making something that no one else wants to make but you when you're on a team, right? So
Yeah.
It's not a dictatorship in that way in any way. It's everyone needs to feel good about it, right? And like really be excited.
So if you, you know, I can imagine whenever someone says, "Oh, I've got version 2 of something or other," right? Even if it's a band, "Oh, we're coming out with a new thing." Well, what's different? Or it's like, "Oh, it's just going to sound like the other thing." Yeah, but. So what's the "yeah, but" here for you?
I really wanted to, like, you know, we own the trademark on that word harmonizer. So my "yeah, but" is going to be signal processing based, because that's my background. I was like, we need really good polyphonic pitch shifting, and we need an algorithm that can do what no one else has done. So we did low latency polyphonic pitch shifting. I worked with the research team for a couple of years to try to get this thing, and we call it SIFT technology. It tracks really well, and it works on everything. I use it on my bass all the time. It's a little more natural sounding than some of the other earlier things that are out there. And low latency is the big key there for polyphonic pitch shifting. The creative thing that came out of that was a thing called prism shift. And what that does is, much like a prism separates light into different frequencies, i.e. colors, prism shift is an arpeggiated pitch shifter that pulls apart your chords in real time and arpeggiates the notes from your guitar.
Is that like trademarked Prism Shift?
It should be.
It's pretty cool. So say that again. What does it do?
It pulls them apart. That's what a prism does. It separates the colors. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when you're playing multiple notes or strings or any note, it pulls apart any note. Pulls apart all the harmonics of one note.
If you're playing more than one note, it recognizes you're playing more than one note and will arpeggiate all those notes. If you're only playing one note, it'll just kind of treat that one note like a delay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's wild. Which is different than like a sort of like a poly pedal, which just like kind of no matter what you do, it poly everything.
Yeah.
You can use that in the description if you want to in the booklet. I'm really good at that stuff.
Yeah. Yes, I think for me it was
your name read on the thing. No.
Yeah. Now
it was that I don't know those harmonized things. Those were I don't know. I really wanted to. It was like a dream of mine to get some of these sounds and be able to do some of this math in real time.
What were some of the things that maybe some of your key artists? I'm assuming you get feedback from them and they're like, hey, what do you think? Anything that they presented to you that you said, ooh, yeah,
absolutely, just a lot of it. I know early on we were working with the guitarist from Sunlux, and his name is Rafiq Bacha, and we showed him an early prototype, and there are a lot of features that we still need to get to that he had.
The flexible routing thing was sort of his
time
idea, yeah.
And multiple mono inserts was a big deal.
Yeah, that's wild on the back. It's like, holy mackerel, I need to buy some cables.
Yeah, that came
Tour Gear
from
Designs.
Yeah.
And then
that came from
you
him.
have the line level thing out back there too.
Yeah.
In and
so
out. Is that
every input and output can be set to instrument or line level.
Wow.
Jeez.
The LEDs on the back was one of the engineers' idea at Eventide to just let it be known that hey, right there on the back you can tell it's line level or not, right? So it also helps because
cool.
we want people that play other instruments and do like more like tabletop kind of Instagrammy synth jams. The kind of people with they take videos and there's cute little plastic plants and they got their little synths.
You know what I'm talking
exactly
what you're talking about.
But it'd be nice that if it could play well in that environment too. So
Table jams in Brooklyn.
yeah.
Now, would it have killed you to put a tuner in this thing?
There's a tuner in there.
There's a tuner.
There is a tuner?
Yeah. You hold the A and the B switch, and then it goes into the tuner.
I didn't even know that.
That's
Yeah, it's a
amazing.
good tuner.
I was just joking.
Dude, that's kind of the cool thing about this pedal, though. It really kind of like starts to peel the layers the more you kind of mess around with it. Like you could like Russ said, you could have a lot of fun with it on just the surface level. Go through the presets, and you're already having a ton of fun just going through all these different unique sounds. But if you plug in an expression pedal, every single program on this thing has expression pedal mapping that does something unique, to that program. So the more you kind of get deep into it, the more layers you take away, and the deeper you get.
Now,
So
it looks like you can put 2 expression pedals in this?
yeah, you can put 2 expression pedals, or 6 aux switches, or 1 expression, 3 aux switch.
Wow.
Yeah, I run 1 expression pedal, 1 aux switch. One of my aux switches I actually just have mapped to instantly call up the tuner from anywhere, just because that's always nice.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 I use for program increment and load, and program decrement and load, so I can just instantly call up programs. That's what works for me. It's pretty flexible. You can pretty much.
Well,
do whatever
you can
want.
dial it into the kind of needs that you might have. Like you're talking about
Exactly.
some different kinds of needs, but like from when I saw that on like the perform knob, right? I was like, what does this do? And then when I realized, you can control a specific parameter that you want to,
Or any group of parameters.
Any group of parameters. So, Tony, we were talking about. I'm trying to remember which patch you had it on, but essentially, you could throw an expression on that, and you can dial in whatever the amount of trails or the amount of repeats or like. I wish I could remember. It just happened over here like 15.
It was number 83.
Was it number 83? Anyways, I was just really excited about that because I was like, that could actually be killer in a live setting. Like, that would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
'83 is a good one though. It's Indigo Fog. It's kind of a Jimi Hendrix thing.
Oh,
Little purple haze action.
Yeah.
Well, and on that note, I actually, when I was going through all 100 of them, just the presets, I started taking a quick video because you hit one and then you're like, wait a minute, I know that sound. And I was like, oh, wait, no, I'm Johnny Marr. Oh, wait, no, I'm Echo and the Bunnymen. Oh, wait, no, I'm Lush. Oh, wait, no, I'm Yes. Oh, wait, no. It was like all these things. I was like, wow, I just went through like an entire library of sounds that instantly flooded my head that were accessible. And a lot of those things, Fascination Street, that was when I said, God dang, this sounds like Fascination Street. And that was right after Holiday in Cambodia. What? How is that possible? So, and those things typically, that takes a whole lot of, if you look at your pedal board and you're like, I can't go from Yes to Holiday in Cambodia to, I got a gut feeling in a snap. But you can with this. Those are all things I tried, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Wow.
super cool. I was just totally geeking out.
So, if I had a gig in New York City, I could take one of these and an amped.
Yeah, we had the
stick it
Black
in my
Star
bag,
amped,
stick it in my bag, and then I'm done. So I got everything I need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Patrick and I have both done that in New York City before anyone else because we had these secretly.
100%. Yeah.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live test these things before we do anything. I think that's a really important part of the process is that you really put it through the ringer. So I had a black, I spray painted my unit black so that no one would be able to recognize it.
Yeah.
And I played it around everywhere, man. It worked great.
I just got to put that camo wrap on it like the cars.
They won't even
prism
see it.
wrap.
Yeah.
New York City camouflage.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, guys, what was one of the...
look, it's a piece of concrete with a little razor blade.
How's he playing that?
when you were going through development, you're like, this is all peaches and cream. Uh-oh. What were a couple of uh-ohs that you might have hit as far as the development goes on this? Because it's like, you look at this and you're like, it's perfect. How can this have gone wrong or not been exactly this?
This is the part where I'm not allowed to curse, right? It's gonna be hard. Patrick, I feel like I've been talking a lot. What are some uh-ohs from your perspective? I'd love to hear it from your perspective.
Oh, man. Uh-ohs in terms of the development of this thing?
Yeah, give me some uh-ohs. I want to learn something.
Oh, man. Gosh. I worked on a lot of the program presets on this thing, and I think from my perspective, some of the OOs were just sort of trying not to repeat more than one sound, which is harder than it sounds. It is such a versatile pedal that you could have a crazy different amount of possibilities, but yeah, it was really hard to do. You had to really kind of review what you were making before to make sure that one, it fit what you were trying to get it to do. So a Jimi Hendrix vibe, Slipknot vibe, a gent sound, a clean ambient sound, but trying not to repeat those sounds was sort of a hard thing for me to follow. But it worked. In the end, we got a lot of help from everyone else in making these presets. It wasn't just me, so it worked out.
I can imagine it would take an awful lot of restraint too. It's kind of, we reference this often on the show. It's to me, this could very well suffer from salad bar syndrome. I know this is the second reference to salad bar, but I've got a reasoning behind it.
Hungry.
When salad bars, I remember if you go to a salad bar, especially if you're younger and you just start taking, it's yes, pineapple, cottage cheese, cranberries, sunflower seeds, ranch dressing, here are garbanzo beans, beets, everything. It's gonna taste like garbage.
Yeah, dude. That's the fountain soda thing for me, dude. When I was growing up, you got to get every single soda in the cup. Just why not?
Yes. So especially with something like this that has infinite possibility.
I still do that, by the way.
to wrangle that down to making them you're giving the user a set of soft parameters to stick with to give you a suggestion of like, here's a sound that you can definitely push in many different directions, but you don't need to push too hard because there's probably another one in here that will do that. You don't have to ruin this particular sound.
Totally. Yeah. And a lot of people kind of like, it wasn't just me. Like I said, it was a pretty good amount of people, like maybe 3 or 4, like people turning in a bunch of different program presets. And then after that reviewing, like what are the right, expression pedal mappings to this? And then what's the right, hot knob parameters? What's the right perform parameter? So a lot went into that. And I'm just glad it worked out in the end that like people, for the most part, really dig the presets, even though a lot of them are pretty out there and pretty kind of humorous. I like to kind of add like a little bit of like that humor into those presets, especially in the naming of it. So I'm glad it worked out.
I mean, even before that, like the algorithm development that, Patrick was a part of, it's hard to create something, that we have a couple of DSP engineers and sound designers, me being one of them. You create something, you really give it your best shot. You pick, for us, picking the parameters and giving them names and get as much like feels like trying your first shot at a song that you wrote, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then you open yourself up and you give it to Patrick and all the guys for criticism. And being able to having a team of people that can take that criticism and run with it and work together and do something constructive is I think is rare. This is why great bands break up all the time. Is because the hardest thing is actually like working with other people. So I think one of the greatest things about the H90 is I feel like our team is really like this is a good team right now. Like it really is. Like the communication skills and the trust that people have in each other at work are I think that's where a lot of that comes from, is because no one dug their heels in, and it let us develop algorithms that are properly constrained but still allow for exploration, right?
Yeah, we had a good synergy, especially going from like the pandemic where we all started working from home. It was such a good feeling to get like the band back together again and kind of like work on something that no matter what happens, like that is going to be at least get a lot of media attention because it is a follow-up to a major product, but to also do that justice, was a really good feeling.
So I've got 2, I would say, main questions that I want to hit, and then we'll, if there's any more riffraff that we want to discuss, we definitely can. But I have one of the 2 is, you mentioned something about instrumentation, and Tony and I both recognized you don't have to play, but if you allow yourself, it will kind of maybe take you down a path that you are not as familiar with. When we go in to play something, the number one thing that is almost every single musician's Achilles heel is staying in the spot that you feel really comfortable in, with the gear you feel really comfortable with, playing the chords you feel comfortable with, and all that stuff. In developing these, can you talk about how, I can only assume that you must have had to push outside of your own normal instrumentation to get into some of these things?
Yeah, I would say that for me, I'm not a rock guitarist. I'm a bassist. I think that I was really proud of the way the guys did the weed. There's an algorithm called Weed Whacker.
Yes.
We're not known for our distortion. We don't try to model this or that, and it's not really our thing, right? We're not trying to make A sound like B. We're trying to sound like us. But when the guys did the Weed Whacker, the people doing the algorithm necessarily aren't the rock guitarists, but they kind of did it together. And there was a really cool iterative process that they went back and forth on until they were able to dial something that Patrick was happy with as a what did you call yourself? Like a grunge pop grunge,
like a disco grunge.
Disco grunge, and then there was another guy there who was more of metal fusion and stuff like that. Definitely more in that gent category, I would think, right?
Totally, yeah.
They made it work for both of the players. But it took a while, you know. I thought we were going to have to do some like deep mathematical modeling. But it sometimes, you know, distortions are funny, right? Like if you open up pedals, you're like, there's not a lot of science here. This is like kind of the same sort of clipping circuits over and over again, but these guys figured out how to artfully tune the voicing around the clipping circuits.
Yes. Or just a different one little tiny element can make a colossal difference.
Exactly. Yeah. Like change the diode or something, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, it was kind of that process. And I was like, I came into a meeting ready to like kill it because I thought it was going to go and not going to go anywhere. And they were like, no, it sounds awesome. And that's why I was like, all right.
Yeah.
We're going to roll with this.
It was so close to not making it, but I'm glad we vouched for that, man, because that's a killer algorithm.
I was surprised to hear the drives on this. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And
yeah, me neither. But, you know, but you got to go with what sounds good, right? If it sounds good, it sounds good.
Yeah. We really sat down and make sure to like dial that in so that you can kind of like, you know, bring only this pedal to a gig and have a drive that you can, you know, rely on and use and know that it's going to sound good. It's a bread and butter algorithm. Nothing too special about it. It's just a 2-stage drive and you're good to go. Bing, awesome. Bang, boom.
I hope that answers the question.
I'm sorry?
I hope that answers the question.
Partially. The other part of that was like, you know, you've talked about your own instruments, but I can imagine if you're like, you know, we have to come up with trying to remember the name of the 12-string.
A 12-stringy?
12-stringy. Yeah, so like, and that was an electric 12-stringy. So it was like, well, which one? There's all kinds of them.
That was just based on the polyphony algorithm, which does the polyphonic pitch shifting. It just sounds so natural that you could kind of get it there, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So the second thing was, you know, we've talked about a lot of all this that it is capable of doing and all the thinking. And, you know, we've only taken a handful of moments to talk about 4 years of development. So I can only imagine what is beyond the surface level that we're scratching right now. But for those people that are going to be intrigued by this, excited by this, feeling like they might actually be able to step into the Eventide realm as a emerging guitar player or somebody that's not necessarily needed the things you've done before, what do you want people to get into beyond the surface level elements of what this pedal does?
For like, you mean like functionally, like on the pedal?
Yeah.
I would want people to really kind of take advantage of this other mode called perform mode. So those two buttons on the top, you see select with the red ring around it, and then perform also has like a ring around it.
Right.
If you step on that, you can program any of the 3 foot switches to do really whatever you want it to do. You could have it, you know, tap tempo, you could have it freeze, you could have it, you know, do any sort of crazy thing or basics. I would be interested to see how people utilize the perform mode.
Yeah.
Other really cool algorithm specific perform functions. So like for prism shift, there's this thing called shift, which will take whatever the arpeggio or the harmonized arpeggio is and then shift it up by the next interval. So it just creates this really cool, interesting soundscape. And then in Wormhole, the new reverb, there's this thing called warp, which is like, it's like sucking the air out of the room as you press it down. It's just this really sick, almost like a riser. So it's for like transitions for tunes. It works perfect for that stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to see people push the boundaries of like playable effects, like effects that are dynamic across time that change, right? Like the whole, like, oh, I'm gonna turn this on and then turn it off, right? That's cool. We can do that, but using these things, using effects expressively as part of your composition, I think this pedal really excels at that.
That brings up a great point because I can, you know, list off at least two, but I know that there's many more entire musical movements or sort of shifts in the type of music that's created based on things that come out. So, like 10 years ago, all of a sudden everything was like, what the reverb is going on? Like freaking everything was just reverbed out. Reverb. And people started creating music based on that. Mm-hmm. If you go back even, to the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and you start getting this really heavy, for lack of better terms, shoegaze kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's when they said, let's turn all of the modulation effects on.
Yeah.
And then like just sit back in the pocket and just kind of be there and not try to drive the music, but let the sort of the mood of what the effects are doing drive the music. Mm-hmm. And that took an entire new limb of the music tree out. So there are elements that are physical that can create all these offshoots of music. I feel like this is like one of those things that people are going to start getting really excited about, and we're going to see people use this to create things, create music that maybe we haven't given ourselves the permission to do before. Some of those the prism sounds and that you're talking about, just being a little bit more open, because we tend to say, no, that's too crazy. It's not going to fit in the thing that I think I fit in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Even when creating like the presets for this thing, that's a lot. That's really something we had, at least for me personally, but I think everyone else had in mind. There's a lot of genres now, a ton of genres, not based on the notes or the melody, but based on the vibe, right? Based on the sound. Like, for example, just recently, lo-fi music is huge. Everybody's doing lo-fi ever since Instagram guitar became a thing. But you could play the same chords as lo-fi guitar and it's just going to sound like jazz, because it's not about the chords that you're playing. It's about really the effects you're putting through it and the vibe that you're using with it. So I hope, I think that like a lot of the sounds in here are inspirational enough that it could do something similar, where it could inspire hopefully something unique that you haven't heard of.
I mean, our other favorite thing is because it's sort of inexhaustible parameters almost on this box. Our other favorite thing is when someone figures something out that we never anticipated.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
like,
where your smile comes into play.
Yeah. I'm like, holy cuss word. Like I can't believe that artist did that with the box we made. I never thought the box could do that. And,
Well, you guys should be extremely proud of yourselves, which I know that you are. I highly encourage people to spend time. I'm not going to say rush out and buy this. You'll know if you need it or not, and I know many of you listening will. But take time. There are some really talented people who have created a lot of content already, and it's just going to keep coming out. And give yourself permission to get outside of the box that you think you might really fit in. It's hard to do sometimes as a musician or just even as a hobbyist, but it can be really, really fun. And Tony's sore butt on the floor is proof of that.
Thank you, Tony's butt.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Right.
Anyways, guys, in keeping with time and being conscious of you've graced us with a lot of it, we are going to move on to our final segment here. Jared?
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hopping in the El Camino and heading down to Nashville to play a little game of Would You Rather?
Nice.
So this week's Would You Rather it's kind of a tragedy story. Your gear was stolen from the gear van.
Again?
No.
It was stolen from the gear.
We have
van.
the worst security with the gear vans.
Yes.
It's an old white rickety van that barely locks, you know.
Oh man.
So, and the gear was stolen Saturday night. You have a gig on Sunday night, so there's no place that's open, and Guitar Center doesn't exist for the, just for the story. But you know of an estate auction that's happening that Sunday afternoon. And your wife says, I'm mad at you for getting all that stuff stolen because I bought half of it. So I'm mad. So let's go to the auction, an estate auction. So you go to the estate auction, and there's 2 boxes of musical gear. Box 1 has a real Klon Centaur, a Chipson, fresh out of the box, so it's not been modded and made nice or anything. Mm-hmm. No lipstick on a pig, Chipson. A custom shop Fender Tele, so a real, really nice Fender Telecaster custom shop, and a PV Tracer amp. Now, I liked PV Tracers back in the day, but that's what's in this box. Box 2, it's a China-made Klon clone. And they're not that bad, especially the ones that Tony ordered that one time.
Yeah.
And I would use that. But it's from China, though. It's not the real thing. A Cort. You guys remember the Cort guitar company that would make copies of it?
They still are around. I think they make like the Matt Bellamy signature guitar.
Yeah.
So, a Cort Telecopy. A 1977 Gibson Les Paul Custom.
Damn.
Probably like 13 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And a 1970s Vox AC30.
Ooh.
Because that's what Billy mentioned earlier. So I had to throw that in for Billy. Now, so your wife's currently mad. She can only choose one box. What box are you going to bid on?
All right. That was a good one, Jared. I think we're all tracking. Tony?
I think I'm going to have to go with box number 2. I'll take a 1970s Vox, a 77 Les
That's
Paul.
what won you over, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, that did. Well, that in the Les Paul Custom.
Yeah.
The Cort, whatever, that's fine. And then, we can get all kinds of cool tones out of that fancy China clone.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's actually a good pedal.
Billy, what are you doing?
Well, I've never had the Klon, and I'm assuming it'll make that PV sound just fine. And, whatever guitar you got, I don't care. I'll play it.
That's a nice guitar over on the other side there.
Yeah.
Custom
That's
shop
the way I'm going to go.
Fender Tele, yeah.
All right. So your box number 1. All right, so we got box number 2, box number 1. And let's see. Let's go to Jared.
Oh, it's tough. I'll do box 2. I gotta have I'm more of a Les Paul guy than a Tele guy, although I really like Telecasters. And real Klon it's once you have a real one and you've messed with it, you know what you got. But that China Klon that Tony found, that's a solid pedal for what it is.
It is. Especially modded like we did. All right, so you're going box number 2.
I got to get that done. Yeah, I got to do 2.
All right.
Yeah.
Patrick.
AC30.
Box 1, easy.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, so did you say for the amp a PV Tracer amp?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard. Is that a trace? It's like a practice amp, a solid state.
It's an older amp, and I think it's solid state, but it actually sounded really good.
I think it's a 112 combo.
It is.
I've never heard of it, but if it's anything like the Decade, I want
it's a heavy metal era. So when Poison and just the Hair Day era PV heavy metal amp.
Gotcha.
A lot of guys used it. Yeah, it's before Tube really came back.
I'm going to go with box 1 still because of that Klon. More than likely, I'm playing probably like a bar gig. Not that many people are going to show up, and I could sell that Klon afterwards and buy a better amp.
You can buy 2 amps.
And then you go back and buy box 2.
Yeah.
But
And a
I
gag
want
for
that
the wife.
custom. I want that custom I want that custom telly, and I want that PV, because if it's anything like the Decade that shot up in price after that Apple TV show with Josh Homme in it.
Oh,
Wow.
jeez. Yeah,
I want
crazy.
Yeah, it's like
they were made in
$100
USA back then. Yeah, they were made in USA back then. So
But
it was
it's
actually a good amp.
It's apparently the secret to the Queens of the Stone Age tone. So I've been on a hunt for it, but any store that kind of gets it, it's about $800 minimum. I don't know if I'm willing to pay $800 for $100.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
They were like
that's insane.
$400 back in the day. It's
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
2
I
years
paid
ago,
$400.
they were $100.
It was like $80 before Josh Homme said anything about it. Yeah.
All right,
So,
Russ, how about
monthly.
yourself?
I'm gonna, I like tellies. The only electric guitar here in the house right now is a Telesonic. So
nice.
I like tellies. I'm going with the box one, and I derive a special sadistic pleasure in having to show up and make a PV amp sound good, because that's when you transition from a place like Texas to New York City, you have to really learn that you just can't have all the gear that you love. You just got to show up with your guitar and figure out how to put on a show with what's in the house.
Yeah.
And the PV reminds me of that, and of that challenge. I like the challenge.
Really funny.
The house amp is always like a Blues Junior or a PV, like the yellow tweed PV.
Yeah, you just
It's a trip. Why is that? Space is so like precious in New York City. That's the craziest thing. Yeah.
that's you learn to do. So yeah, I'm going with box one. I mean, the telly sounds really nice, and I when I do play electric, I love how tellies fight back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're both solid answers.
they're good. Yeah.
What are you doing, Todd?
Well, I'm going box number 2. For sure.
Nice.
Because I like the idea of a sweet, super expensive, almost unobtainium amp that's in that box, and I would love an old Les Paul too.
So it's a 3 and 3.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
nice.
It's a solid
Good.
split, not too shabby. All right.
Hey, don't we have a bunch of people to thank?
That's right, Billy, because at this point of the show, there's a very special group of people that we love to thank. These are our executive producers. Now, you might be wondering, what is an executive producer? Well, an executive producer makes this show possible. An executive producer is a sponsor of the show. How do you become one? I knew you were thinking that. You go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and check out a couple of different levels in which you can participate. Become a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast. Each level comes with a wonderful selection of thank you gifts, some that you can't even imagine that you'll be getting. But there's one thing more. Jared, what is that?
To have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. That's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers. Moon Guitars, Vader and Pedals, John Halverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Glenberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mike D, Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, Matt Hart, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemalero, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterly, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Tom Barazin, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk, Don Kloss, Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, Andrew DeHaan, and that bloke, Andrew Bell.
Oh, yeah.
But wait, Todd, there's more.
Oh, there is.
Yes, there's a special group of executive producers we call our Grand Poobahs. These fine folks have a fez to wear upon their heads whilst listening to the podcast.
That's right.
That's right. So all of you had better be wearing your fezzes. Special thanks to these Grand Poobahs. Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Iguereda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups, Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Novak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. Yes. Eddie Serratos, David Poe, Billy Spitfire,
Unlimited,
and Congregation Gear Demos.
Yes, and yes. Thank you all so very, very much.
Yep.
You know, we've had a great string of guests, and that's great. But it takes a lot to keep it going beyond the string of guests, and we truly, truly appreciate it. We mentioned we're coming up on 300. I want to do 300 more, if that's okay with everybody else. So when
I'm stopping at 350.
you can be done. You can be done with me. Like I can't stand some no more.
This sign on the wall says the maximum occupancy is 120.
Yeah. Well, we've well past that. Eventide, people, where can people go get this amazing new instrument, the H90?
Go to any, right now it's pretty sold out, but go to eventideaudio.com, check out any of our dealers, Sweetwater, Guitar Center, and hopefully some of your local stores will carry it, so you could try it out.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. Like just even just doing a search shopping and seeing who's got them, you know, because there are other people besides the big dogs.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we love Sweetwater, we love all the big dealers, but also support local businesses is a good thing, and if you want to keep those small guitar shops open.
Yeah, we are trying to be fair with the stock we get and the distribution of it. So yeah, support the local guys for sure. We're definitely delivering to them.
Awesome. Tony, where can people find you to get your stuff?
Just head over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the wares I have available for purchase. But what I do is mostly custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you need, what you're trying to do, and I will help you out. Pickguardian.com.
You're going to make a sweet antiqued perloid white P bass pickguard for my daughter.
Am I?
Yes, you are.
Will she hear this?
And she's going to pick out whatever materials that she wants, but we're going to come over to your shop and do that.
Okay.
All right. Billy, where can people find you?
You can find me right here in the studio painting or talking into these wonderful microphones. You can find me at Billy Spitfire Unlimited on Facebook. Also, Billy Spitfire on Instagram.
Perfect. Jared?
You can find me on Instagram, jared.allen.brandon, and chat with me about whatever. Jonathan Jurusik chats a lot with me. He's a lot of fun. Anthony Gemolero, he's chatted with me. Guitars of Doom. A bunch of people.
All the people.
If you have questions about pickups or just gear and Gibson stuff that I probably won't tell you about, then just go ahead and message me. We'll talk.
A double dog dare you.
All right. You can shoot me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. You can also DM me on Instagram at guitarknobs. And I would love to get your information. Send us your would you rathers, everybody. We know you got them. Give us a would you rather, okay? Also, please, please, please go check out my band, the Valentinos.
And you still can.
Well, no, we're not going anywhere. And go listen to Starcrawler if you haven't.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Check them out.
Billy's band, Mathematics. All right? There we go. Pat and Russ from Eventide. We want to have a huge thank you altogether for you guys for coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You have been delightful guests, and I would say are probably pretty representative of all the other people back at home base and Eventide. So hello, and thank you to all of you as well at Eventide, and thanks for putting the thought in and all of your skill and artfulness into this really fantastic product.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for having us. This was such a fun conversation, and I hope you get some more time to play with the pedal in the coming few weeks or even a holiday break. And yeah, man, we really appreciate you having us.
Hey, everybody, have a fantastic guitar week. We love you guys. Subscribe.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys have a fountain outside of your building, or?
No, but we have really good Jersey Italian sandwiches.
It's like number 5. How How is this possible?
I can fart louder than that.
What am I doing here?
Yeah. What the hell's wrong with Billy? Patrick, do you and Pat? Do you Patrick, Pat, or Patty?
Pat is cool.
Pat. All right, Pat and Russ. All right, I feel like we have a sitcom on our hands. Billy, are you okay?
I am.
Yeah. That is.
What happens when you sneeze and fart at the same time?
You don't want to do.
Well, this has been great, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm a medium.
I think I'm large.
Okay, I'll send a medium and a large, and hold the onions. Okay.
Extra hot peppers.
Yeah. Do you go by Russell or Russ, by the way?
Either one, just never rusty.
Russ.
Okay, I know what I'm calling you. I thought that was the end of the podcast.
Oh, sorry.
Clarence.
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.